Hey, so I learned something completely unexpected this week when I was working on some Briggs and Stratton classic engines on some push mowers, and I thought I'd share it with you guys before I put these engines back together, just in case you're banging your head against the wall trying to figure out why your engine is running so erratically. Hopefully this will help you out. Let's jump into it. All right, just to be clear, before I found this out, I had verified that the air filter was not the issue. I had verified that the carburetor was clean and that that was not the issue. I replaced the gasket and the diaphragm in the carburetor, and I even added additional gaskets, which I've shown in a different video, to seal up any air leaks that might occur between the carburetor and the gas tank. That wasn't the issue. I replaced the springs for the governor and the throttle and all that. That was not the issue, and I just really could not figure out what was going on. And then I found this. Now the piece that you're looking at right here is an intake tube, and that runs from your carburetor where it takes the air-gas mix and it runs down that tube, and then it goes into your combustion chamber for the combustion of the engine. Now on this tube, as you can see, it's actually got a notch cut into it. Now that occurred due to this shield right here for the engine, I believe, vibrating up against the intake tube while it was running at high speeds, obviously, and the heat, and it just kind of vibrated and melted a hole right into the side of that. And I believe that was done because the previous owner had done some engine work to this, and it was a side-of-the-road pickup for me. I was just a free lawnmower, and I believe they had bumped that or bent it somehow, and that's what happened. So when that occurred, you had all of this unmetered air that's supposed to go through the air filter and through the carburetor and everything, and it was actually just sucking in all the air it wanted right here at this point where it was cut, and the engine was running erratically, and there's nothing I was doing on my end here that was going to fix that whatsoever. And what I ended up having to do was I took this 5-minute setting Loctite, a resin and a hardener, and it hardens and sets after about 5-10 minutes. And I just kind of patched that all over. I went all the way around it because I didn't want just one piece that could easily be flaked off. I wanted it to kind of bond with itself all the way around the intake tube. And I put just a little dab in the inside as well and made sure that I filed it down so that it's not restricting anything. But that's held up pretty well. I've run this lawnmower now twice out on my lawn, and that has held up great. And I bent this shield back. There's no way this could have happened just in nature because everything's too protected. So somebody had to have bent that or bumped that. But I just bent it back and made sure that there's proper clearance and everything should be good to go. To gain access and to remove the intake tube here, all you have to do is remove the 2 screws that are holding on the ignition coil module. And then once that's done, you remove that. You can undo the wire that attaches here to this little connection point here. And that's the wire there for it. Once that's done, obviously the carburetor will be removed in the gas tank and whatnot. And you take a 1/4-inch socket or wrench and remove these 2, and then this will just lift straight off. I would clean it with hot soap and water and let it dry completely. Don't touch around here where you plan on using the fast setting weld here because you don't want any oil from your hands getting on there. And then just apply that and let it sit for about a day and you should be good to go. I let it sit even though it hardens in 5 minutes just because it's going to be exposed to high heat and I just want it to set all the way. Now to put the ignition coil back on, if you've never done that, make sure the flywheel is turned so that the raised part here is going to be across from where you're putting the module, and this creates the magnet that will allow it to fire and go to the spark plug. And go ahead and take a business card that's hanging on your fridge that is useless and nobody's using it anyways, and that's what you're going to use for a spacer between the ignition coil and the flywheel. And then screw these down tightly, and then once that's done, you remove this. If you don't do that, this is going to stick to the flywheel, and then obviously the flywheel has to turn while the engine is in operation, and it can't do that if this is sticking to it and nothing's going to work right. So the business card will allow for the proper amount of spacing between it. All right, so that was it. I hope that helps you out. I know it's probably the last thing in the world that could possibly happen, but just in case you've covered all your other bases and you still can't figure it out, go ahead and give that intake tube a check and just make sure that that little shield for that engine isn't vibrating and cutting a hole into that, because once that happens, that unmetered air getting through there, your engine is never going to run right until you get that corrected. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your review. I hope this helps you out, and if it did, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe, and take it easy, guys.